Industry experts estimate that organized retail crime losses exceed $30 billion annually. To combat these losses, retailers have deployed new security devices, technology, and some have designated specialized departments to conduct investigations. Law enforcement agencies are engaging with their private sector partners through outreach efforts and to enhance proactive and investigative results. Regardless of the size of public-private sector partnerships, they're forming around the country, and they're usually called Organized Retail Crime Associations, or ORCAs, to share intelligence, collaborate on investigations, and to make our community safer. Today, I'm here with three distinguished law enforcement partners involved in these very efforts. Eric Ives, Unit Chief, is with the Federal Bureau of Investigation's International Organized Crime Program. In FBI headquarters, with the assistance of many law enforcement agencies, retailers, transportation companies, and others, the undercover operation has successfully dismantled numerous criminal enterprises engaged in the international trafficking of contraband, the forced closure of many black market retail storefronts, and redistribution locations. Special Agent Ives spent many years as a retail loss prevention professional prior to his appointment to the FBI, and he has supported the retail loss prevention efforts and investigations throughout his FBI career. Special Agent Ives has received national awards from the NRF, National Retail Federation, American Trucking Association, Jewelers Security Alliance, and the Department of Justice. Also joining us is Captain 3 John Romero with the Los Angeles Police Department's Commercial Crimes Division and the Law Enforcement Co-Chair for the Los Angeles Area Organized Retail Crimes Association, or affectionately called LAAORCA. Captain Romero has 26 years of law enforcement experience, and since graduating from the LAPD Academy, Captain Romero has worked a variety of assignments in patrol, administration, jail operations, community policing, criminal investigations, intelligence, gang impact, and media relations. He's kind of done it all. He was named captain of LAPD's CCD unit earlier this year, and we're thrilled to have him on the panel. Detective 3 Joe Hopkins is with the Los Angeles Police Department's Commercial Crimes Division and also serves as the LAAORCA Law Enforcement Liaison. Joe has over 20 years of law enforcement experience and instrumental in the running of LAAORCA's for the past 2 years, and in his role connects member law enforcement and retail partners together on time-sensitive matters. He keeps the wheels rolling. Gentlemen, thank you all for being here. Each of you have a different perspective on organized retail crime and just a depth of knowledge. And again, thank you all for being here. I guess, especially Ives, I'll start with you. You're a former retailer. You now have worked a number of organized retail crime programs within the Bureau. Tell us a little bit about those steps that you've taken and how that's worked within retail and in the public sector.
You mean the transition from retail to law enforcement?
The retail to law enforcement, absolutely.
Right, Joe, it's easy for me to capture the changes because I left the retail industry 20 years ago, the loss prevention side, district level, and so I captured the moment when I left. And back then it was your traditional prevention and safety and shrinkage. And now it's more reputation and protection, hence the name of the conference we're at. And so it went from the evolution of protecting assets in the store to the birth of the term organized retail crime over the course of my career, which NRF played a large part in making that term a common household term. And then we evolved into where loss prevention professionals were having ORC regional and national teams. And then we evolved into more responsibilities related to cargo theft. And then we work more now IPR stuff, counterfeiting, and then really the evolution into the term global investigations. And those are the changes that occurred over the past 20 years.
That's amazing, and I know the Bureau has been one of the leading federal agencies on the forefront of working with retailers and these partnerships and a number of the big investigations that we hear about and, well, a number that we probably never will hear about, right? Now, Captain Romero, now with the CCD unit, CCD Commercial Crimes Division, the scope of responsibility you have in most other police departments, you would be the chief, right? The double chief. Tell us a little bit about what CCD does within the LAPD's world and then how that ties into retail.
Yes, in the sense that most police departments in the United States are smaller than 100 people, then yeah, then I would be the chief. But the truth is that I stand on the shoulders of giants in being a part of CCD. I'm blessed to be a part of that division. We have some of the world's best and finest detectives there, and on the floor, we're talking about commercial crimes and robbery, homicide, and all of the divisions are part of Detective Bureau are world-class detectives. Within commercial crimes division, though, we have a couple that are really closely tied to the retail theft, and that's commercial auto theft, because they focus in on cargo theft, and then burglary special section, because they focus in on some of the more complex burglaries. But the detectives at the division level are carrying a huge load as well. Just last week, some detectives and officers at Olympic Division, no part of commercial crimes at all, solved a takeover robbery of a jewelry store. And by the next day, when people were calling me to see if I was aware of it, those detectives and those officers had already talked to the FBI, and the FBI already knew about that. And so you have to check your ego at the door that I didn't get notified early. But these detectives at the area level and at Commercial Crimes Division are so engaged with their partners that they're already talking even before I'm notified. And so these detectives are very closely tied to retail, in that when we make arrests and when we serve warrants, we're finding evidence. Even if it's in auto theft, we're finding evidence of retail theft. From credit cards to gift cards and receipts and property. And so all of those sections in commercial crimes are closely tied to the retail.
It's amazing. And I know it's really an amazing team that you're leading. Special Agent Ives, as Captain Romero mentioned, many of the larger cases that might go into very violent crimes or nexus into other issues sometimes cross over into the Bureau's space. You personally have been on the forefront of a public-private sector partnerships, data sharing initiatives, and ways of working together, not just with retailers, but with other law enforcement agencies. Can you talk a little bit about some of those programs that you've been involved with, and where are we headed? I mean, where's the Bureau going with some of these?
I think in the world of retail, we went from the traditional interstate transportation to stolen property, and that's a common statute we used to enforce these crimes when it did reach the federal level, to now more of a cyber nexus, and that's sort of the area we're headed toward with the breaches. But I would like to say I can validate my esteemed colleagues here. LAPD are world-class professionals, and I know from firsthand experience working with the guys here, most retail crimes are state and local crimes, and with these guys around, they'll never get to us. They do a great job. So,
great to know. Now, Detective Hopkins, you're involved with the LAAORCA program, and as the liaison, you work with a number of retailers and other law enforcement agencies. Tell us more about that program. I know it's been a model for other regions across the country. How many retailers, how many law enforcement, what's the makeup, and what are some of the things LAAORCA is involved with?
Currently, we have over 2,100 LAAORCA registrants, and that's comprised of over 350 companies and 120 federal, state, and local law enforcement agencies are all participating. So what I would like to say is I'd like to encourage all of our loss prevention, asset protection, law enforcement agencies to definitely start participating with LAAORCA and the other ORCAs that are in your surrounding areas. LAAORCA is not just for the Los Angeles, it's Los Angeles as well as the surrounding area. We serve a broad surrounding area, and we definitely want the participation of all of our members. So we're currently utilizing a CalORCA website to address the region, the California region, so that we can get more participation to those underserved areas.
And as you talk about LAAORCA and these partnerships, and there are some fabulous ORCAs around the state of California as well as neighboring states now. Can you talk a little bit about the successes that some of the LAAORCA companies and law enforcement agencies have had?
Oh yeah, most definitely. My job as the law enforcement liaison is to foster these relationships and enhance them. So a lot of the successes that I see typically occur during our general membership meetings. During those meetings, we collectively get together to discuss topics regarding ORC, We also present cases so that we can address those cases and see if we can offer some assistance. And more often than not, during those case presentations, we have information pertaining to suspects, vehicle descriptions, we may have video, and more often than not, someone in the audience has information that would further the investigation regarding those specific suspects. So for me, that's the aha moment where you're in the audience and then all of a sudden someone says, yeah, I know who that person is. Right. And so we immediately link these individuals up with either law enforcement, other retail investigators, and obviously that's a great opportunity for us to continue because all we need to do is grow from here. So
that's fantastic. And I guess for the group, and maybe start with you, Captain Romero, how would you recommend that retailers engage LAPD and your team? Do they go through patrol? Do they contact your detectives directly? What would elevate that into your team's sphere of influence?
Well, we're all about community engagement and the relationship with the community. We're activating a community relationship division here in the next few days on the Los Angeles Police Department. But the knowing your senior lead officer in the area is a very good start for that. And then having the detectives, the table coordinators, being a part of the various organized crime associations, having them at the meetings has been super valuable. I've been a part of the last 2 meetings, I believe, since I took over, and Joe is exactly right. When with the detectives there, with the retailers there, as soon as there's a case shared, there's either information to help the retailers harden the target, or to help the investigators solve the crime. And so being engaged at the area level and then at the department level as well.
Okay, so we have the LAAORCA program, which all retailers in the LA area, and if you have an ORCA in your market, avenue to connect with the public and private sector partners.
Right.
And then through the senior lead officers within LAPD. Now, Special Agent Ives, the Bureau, it might be a little intimidating if you've never worked a federal investigation or you're not sure if it qualifies to be a federal case. Would somebody come to your office? Would they go to the field office? What path, if you're working on a major organized retail crime case, would someone take if they thought it has interstate or some cyber nexus?
Right. One thing I realized from being a previous in the retail industry and loss prevention is that we both appreciate partnerships. And don't wait till it's an emergency, but that's what the ORCAs are for. Visit the FBI office. I can broker a meeting and introduce yourself. They want that partnership. Invite them to an ORCA meeting or a regional conference, a national conference. 95% of my retail contacts come through venues like this. And so invite them to your corporate annual meetings, whether it's even by video conference. Get that name association with the FBI, and if something really does happen, you already have those built-in relationships.
Makes complete sense. Now, Captain Romero, I don't want to put you on the spot. Cyber and cyber threats are such a large issue, and Special Agent Ives talked about this briefly, but I want to ask you, I've heard rumblings here in the area that LAPD is standing up a new cybercrime program. Can you talk a little bit about that, maybe share it with, knowing it's a pretty public audience, what is that program all about and where's the focus of the department going?
Well, we recognize that it's all about cyber now. We're going to solve crimes using technology and understanding cyber, but the bad guys are using cyber, and they're using our inability to keep up and exploiting that gap. So we've had a cyber capacity for some time, but it's been at the unit level, so a small part of the department, and experts throughout the department in some other areas. And so in the next few weeks, we're looking to expand from the unit level to the section level. So that's about a doubling of that capacity. And then in the long term, in the 3 to 5 years, having a cyber crimes division. So there'll be a captain in charge of that division and 100 or so detectives. So we have a ways to go in there, and we need to focus in on the training to get there. But that is the vision for the future, and that's the direction we're going.
That's incredible, and I think that training element is so important because the technology is evolving so quickly. And I don't know if Detective Hopkins, you want to weigh in whether it's engaging your unit and the LAAORCA program or other parts of the department, and you're a seasoned LAPD person. What does that training bring to the department for you, and wish you'd had that when you were in the field, and what does that do for overall?
Most definitely. I mean, obviously, any training that we receive to increase the efficiency of our investigative efforts is very well received, and we'd be happy to have it. I can speak for many detectives going into something like this, not knowing what's happening. It would benefit us to get as much experience, as much information as we possibly can receive. So, well received. We're looking forward to it, and I welcome the opportunity for it.
That's great. I also know one important note about LAAORCA, that the partnership, you really, you talk the talk and you walk the walk in terms of these public-private sector partnerships. That LAPD has established a retail desk within CCD, and you've invited a number of retailers to come in and talk with you about what's going on in their companies, the organized retail crime, and other crime prevention type issues. Can you talk maybe a little bit about that, and what does that desk do, and how maybe some of the stories around it?
Oh yeah, on numerous occasions, and I've let it be known to all of our retail partners that in any instance there's an issue or problem that they're facing, they're more than welcome to come. I have a desk, a vacant desk right next to me, and so we can discuss some of the issues that they're facing. I can put them in touch with some of our detectives at Commercial Crimes Division, or if even detectives at a different area. I can walk them through it, do the introductions. Even if it's not within our department, if it's an outside agency, to try to make it a little easy, I would like to facilitate a meeting between them as well, and I do it on frequent occasions. So as a matter of fact, at the Fusion Center, we discussed that, and I told many people, if you're having some issues, coming from a law enforcement standpoint and you're trying to reach another law enforcement agency, it makes it a little easier for another detective to contact them. So I welcome the opportunity.
That's great. Captain Romero.
If I could add that when I worked a specialized detective division and people wanted to get into that business, they wanted to be kicking doors or on surveillance or something exciting like that, but the person that's working liaison is the person that's going to solve the big case or prevent an act of terrorism, because they are connected to not only the private sector, but they're connected to agencies all over the country. And Joe is that person. A much greater chance that a person in this assignment is going to do something big and prevent the big case or solve the big case.
So about great people and about great relationships that they develop.
It is all about relationships.
So Special Agent Ives, we need to wrap up in just a minute, but so I guess I really personally just want to know this.
Okay.
Talk a little bit about some of the unique, obscure type units that the Bureau has. I mean, I'm going to rat you out. I know that you're a gemologist, or you have the certification, right?
Correct.
Give me a couple examples. What units does the FBI have that you keep under wraps?
That is the best question, and the simple answer is that's classified, Joe.
Oh,
but no, I can share some with you. But remember, to the retailers, don't undervalue your expertise. I want to say that. We don't know everything. We welcome your training. Organized retail crime, in many cases, is threat financing, which goes to your question. Some of the unique and really small programs in the FBI that most FBI agents don't even know we work. The Art Crime Program and Diamonds. I think if you recall this past Sunday, 2 Sundays ago, there was a targeted airstrike in Libya, and the individual targeted in that airstrike, and I don't know anybody personally who's ever been targeted for an airstrike, so that's a big deal.
Probably don't want to know anybody.
I don't
like
want to
that,
know.
Right? Yeah.
Mokhtar Belmokhtar was his name, and he was an Al-Qaeda member. He left Al-Qaeda to start his own terrorist organization, and for a funding stream. He was the most famous trafficker of cigarettes and diamonds in the continent, and he earned the name Mr. Marlboro. And but for diamonds and cigarettes, you've never heard of Mokhtar Belmokhtar, and he would never have taken 800 hostages last year at an oil refinery in Algeria. But the diamond program in the FBI, we have about 40 trained experts that can grade diamonds. We use that not only for diamond-related cases, but as a trade craft in the world of undercovers, like Joe Pistone, Donnie Brasco was in the 1970s.
Right.
There aren't many agents, but they're experts, and we're one of the leaders in the world in that crime area, that threat.
That's amazing. And it's almost what Captain Romero was just saying, that it's the liaison, those experts, those center point people that are leaning forward and catching some of the great cases that are out there.
Right, if you think of every possible scenario for a criminal violation we work, you can use diamonds as a gateway into that undercover world,
Right.
because that's a world standard currency. It's accepted everywhere. And we have that knowledge thanks to our relationships with the private sector.
That's great. Thank you for sharing that. And gentlemen, we need to leave it there. I want to thank all three of you. We have Special Agent Eric Ives with the Federal Bureau of Investigation. We have Captain 3 John Romero with the LAPD's Commercial Crimes Division, and Detective 3 Joe Hopkins with the Los Angeles Police Department's Commercial Crimes Division and the LAAORCA Liaison. So get involved in the LAAORCA program. If you have an ORCA in your community, I strongly encourage you to get involved, go to the meetings, talk to your law enforcement partners. I want to thank you all again for being here, and we'll turn it back over to you, Amber.